Tale of Sinaway. The patrician and count, governor of the sovereign's domains in the Syrian lands, the true acquaintance of the king, whom he loves, the follower, Sinaway, says,
I was a follower who followed his lord, a servant of the royal chambers and of the patrician lady, the greatly praised, the Queen of Senwosret in Nemsut, the Princess of Amenemhat in Nefru, the Blessed Lady.
Regmil, year 30 of the inundation season, day 7. The god ascended to his horizon. The dual King Setherpibre mounted to heaven and was united with the sun, the divine flesh mingling with its creator. The royal residence was in silence. Hearts were in mourning. The great portal was shut. The entourage was bowed down, and the patricians were in grief. Now His Majesty had sent out an expedition to the Libyan land with his eldest son at its head, the perfected god Senwosret. But now he was returning, having carried off Libyan captives and all sorts of cattle without number. The friends of the court sent to the western border to inform the prince of the affair which had happened in the audience hall. On the road the messengers found him. They reached him at nightfall. Not a moment did he wait. The falcon flew off with his falconers without informing his expedition. Now, when the royal children accompanying him on this expedition were sent to, one of them was summoned.
Now, when I was standing on duty, I overheard his voice as he spoke, as I was a little way off. My heart staggered, my arms spread out, trembling fell on every limb. I removed myself, leaping to look for a hiding place. I put myself between two bushes until the traveller had parted from the road. I travelled southwards. I did not plan to reach this royal residence expecting strife would happen. I did not think to live after him. I went across Lake Marty in the region of the Sycamore. I came to the Isle of Snefru. I passed the day on the edge of a field. When it was daylight again, I made an early start. I met a man standing in my way. He saluted me, though I was afraid of him. When it was supper time, I had arrived at Cattle Quay. I crossed in a rudderless barge, blown by the west wind. I passed east of Yaku, above Lady of the Red Mountain. I gave my feet a northwards path, and I reached the fortress walls of the ruler, made to beat back the Syrians. I crouched down in a bush for fear of being seen by the watcher on duty upon the wall. I travelled in the night time. When it was dawn, I had reached Petend. I alighted on an island of the bitter lakes. Thirst's attack overtook me, and I was scorched. My throat parched. I said, "This is the taste of death." But I lifted up my heart and gathered my limbs together as I heard the noise of cattle lowing, caught sight of Syrians, and a leader of theirs who had once been in Egypt recognized me. Then he gave me water while he boiled milk for me. I went with him to his tribe, and what they did for me was good. Country gave me to country. I set out for Byblos. I got to Kedem. I had spent half a year there when Amunenshi carried me off. He was the ruler of Upper Retinue, and he told me,
"You'll be happy with me, for you'll hear the speech of Egypt."
He said this knowing my character and having heard of my understanding, and the Egyptians who were with him there had vouched for me. Then he said to me,
"Why did you come here? Has anything happened in the royal residence?"
Then I said to him, "It's that the jewel king Sehopetepibre has gone to the horizon, and how this all happened is unknown." But I spoke in half-truths. "I have come from the expedition to the Libyan land. It was reported to me, and my heart failed and carried me off on the ways of flight. I had not been talked of, and my face had not been spat upon. I had heard no reproaches. My name had not been heard in the herald's mouth. I do not know what brought me to this country. It is like a plan of God." Then he said unto me,
So how is that land without him, that worthy God, fear of whom is throughout the countries like Sekhmets in a plague year?
I spoke thus to him, answering him, "Indeed, his son has already entered the palace and has taken up his father's inheritance. Now he is a God who is peerless, before whom no other exists. He is Lord of understanding, excellent of plans, effective of orders. Coming and going are by his command.
He subjugates the countries. His father stayed within his palace, and he reported to him that what he had ordained was done.
Now he is a hero, active with strong arm, a champion without compare, seen descending on barbarians, approaching the combat.
He curbs horns, weakens hands. His foes cannot marshal troops.
He is vengeful, a smasher of foreheads. Close to him no one can stand.
He is far striding, destroying the fugitive. There is no end for the man who shows him his back.
He is firm-hearted at the moment of forcing retreat. He turns back again and again. He shows not his own back.
He is stout-hearted, seeing the masses. He allows no rest around his heart.
He is bold, descending on Easterners. His joy is to plunder barbarians.
As soon as he takes up his shield, he tramples. He needs no second blow to slay.
None can escape his arrow, none draw his bow. As before the power of the Great One, barbarians flee before him.
Having foreseen the end, he fights heedless of all else.
He is a Lord of kindness, great of sweetness. Through love he has conquered.
His city loves him more than its own members. It rejoices at him more than at its God.
Men and women pass by, exulting at him. He is a king who conquered in the womb, his eyes on it from birth.
He makes those born with him plentiful. He is unique, God-given.
How joyful this land, since he has ruled. He extends its borders. He will conquer southern lands without yet considering northern countries. He was begotten to strike Syrians, to trample sandfarers. Send to him, let him know your name, as a man far from his majesty who inquires. He will not fail to do good for a country that will be loyal to him." And he said unto me,
Well, Egypt is certainly happy, knowing of his success. But look, you are here, and you will stay with me. I shall do you good.
He placed me at the head of his children. He joined me to his eldest daughter. He had me make my choice of his country from the choicest of what was his, on his border with another country.
It was a good land, called Iyah. Figs were in it and grapes. The wine was more copious than its water. Great its honey, plentiful its moringa oil, with all kinds of fruit on its trees. Barley was there, and emmer, and numberless were its cattle of all kinds.
Now, what came to me as a favorite was great. He appointed me the ruler of a tribe of the choicest of his country. Provisions and strong drinks were made for me, with wine as a daily supply, and cooked flesh and roast fowl, as well as foreign game. They would snare and lay it all out for me, as well as the catch of my own hounds. Many sweets were made for me, with milk in every cooked dish. I spent many years there, and my children became heroes, each man subjugating his tribe. The messenger who went north and south to the royal residence would tarry for me. I would make all men tarry. I would give water to the thirsty, and I returned the wanderer to his path and rescued the robbed. The Syrians who became so bold as to resist the country's rulers, I counted their movements. This ruler of retinue would have me do many missions as the commander of his army. Every country for which I set out, I made my attack on it, and it was driven from its grasslands and wells. I plundered its cattle and carried off its inhabitants, and their food was taken away. I killed the people in it with my strong arm, my bow, my movements, and my excellent plans. In his heart, I attained high regard. He loved me knowing my valor. He placed me at the head of his children, having seen the strength in my arms. A hero of retinue came to provoke me in my tent. He was a peerless champion who had subjugated all the land. He said he would fight with me. He planned to rob me and thought to plunder my cattle on the advice of his tribe. That ruler, Amunenshi, conferred with me. I spoke thus: I do not know him, so am I some ally of his to walk around his camp? Or does this mean that I have opened his private quarters, overturned his stockade? It is resentment at seeing me do your missions. How like am I to a bull of the roaming cattle in the midst of another herd, whom the bull of that little herd attacks, whom that long-hauled bull is charging? Can an inferior ever be loved as a superior? No barbarian can ever ally with a Delta man, just as nothing can establish the papyrus on the mountain. Does that bull want to fight? Or does that champion bull want to sound a retreat in terror of being equal? If he has the will to fight, let him speak his wish. Does God not know what he has fated, or does he know how it stands? When it was night, I strung my bow and tried my arrows, sharpened my sword and polished my weapons. When it was dawn, all retinue had come, having incited its tribes and gathered its neighboring countries, for it had planned this fight. And yet every breast burned for me. The wives jabbered, and every heart was sore for me, saying,
Is there another man mighty enough to fight him?
Then his shield, his axe, his armful of javelins fell to me. After I had escaped his weapons and made them pass by me with his arrows spent in vain, one after the other, he approached me, and I shot him. My arrow stuck in his neck. He cried out and fell on his face. I felled him with his own axe and gave my war cry on his back, while every Asiatic was bellowing. To Montu I gave praises while his supporters mourned for him. This ruler Amunenshi took me into his arms. Then I carried off his property and plundered his cattle. What he planned to do to me, I did to him. I seized what was in his tent and stripped his camp. With this I became great, and grew copious of wealth, and grew plentiful of cattle. For now, God has acted so as to be gracious to one with whom he was offended, whom he led astray to another country. Today he is satisfied.
A fugitive takes flight because of his surroundings.
But my reputation is in the residence.
A creeping man creeps off because of hunger.
But I give bread to my neighbor.
A man leaves his land because of nakedness.
But I had bright linen, white linen.
A man runs off because of the lack of someone to send.
But I am plentiful of serfs. Good is my house, spacious my dwelling place, and memory of me is in the palace. Whatever God fated this night, be gracious and bring me home. Surely you will let me see the place where my heart still stays. What matters more than my being buried in the land where I was born? This is my prayer for help, that the good event befall, that God give me grace. May he act in this way to make well the end of someone whom he made helpless. His heart sore for someone he compelled to live in a foreign country. Does this mean that he is so gracious today as to hear the prayer of someone far off, who shall then turn from where he has roamed the earth to the place from which he was carried away? May the king of Egypt be gracious to me, that I may live on his grace. May I greet the mistress of the land who is in his palace, and hear her children's messages. So shall my limbs grow young again, for now old age has fallen. Weakness has overtaken me. My eyes are heavy and my arms weak. My legs have ceased to follow, and my heart is weary. I am near to dying. May they lead me to the cities of eternity. May I follow the Lady of all, and then she shall tell me that all is well with her children. May she pass eternity above me. Now, the majesty of the jewel king Kepakari was told about the state of affairs in which I was. And his majesty sent to me with bounty of royal giving to gladden the heart of this humble servant, like any ruler of a country. And the royal children who were in his palace let me hear their messages.
Copy of the decree brought to this humble servant about his being brought back to Egypt. Horus living of incarnations, two ladies living of incarnations, golden Horus living of incarnations, dual king Keperkare, son of Res and Wasret, may he live for all time and eternity. Royal decree to the follower Sinue. Look, this decree of the king is brought to you to inform you that you're roving through countries, going from Kedem to that the new country giving you to country was at the counsel of your own heart. What have you done that you should be acted against? You had not cursed that your speech should be punished. You had not spoken in the officer's council that your utterances should be opposed. This idea carried off your heart. It was not in my heart against you. This, your queen, who is in my palace, endures and flourishes in the kingship of the land, today as she did before, and her children are in the audience hall. You will store up the wealth given by them and live on their bounty. Return to Egypt, and you will see the residence where you grew up. Kiss the earth at the great portal and join the friends. But today you have already begun to be old, have lost your virility, and have in mind the day of burial, the passing to blessedness. A night vigil will be assigned to you with holy oils and wrappings from the hands of the weaving goddess. A funeral procession will be made for you on the day of joining the earth, with a mummy case of gold, a mask of lapis lazuli, a heaven over you and you placed in a hearse, with oxen dragging you and singers going before you. The dance of the oblivious ones will be done at the mouth of your tomb chamber, and the offering invocation recited for you. Sacrifices will be made at the mouth of your offering chapel, and your pillars will be built of white stone in the midst of the royal children. But your death will not happen in a foreign country. Asiatics will not lay you to rest. You will not be put in a ram's skin when your coffin is made. This is too long to be roaming the earth. Think of your corpse and return.
As I stood in the middle of my tribe, this decree reached me. It was read to me, and I prostrated myself. I touched the earth and scattered it on my chest. I roved round my camp, shouting and saying, "How can this be done for a servant whose heart led him astray to strange countries? So good is the kindness which saves me from death. Your spirit will let me make my end with my limbs at home."
Copy of the reply to this decree. The servant of the palace, Sinwe, says,
"Most happy welcome. Concerning this flight which your humble servant made in his ignorance, it is your spirit, perfected God, Lord of the two lands, which is loved by the sun god and favored by Montu, Lord of Thebes, Amun, Lord of the throne of the two lands, Sobek-Re, Horus, Hathor, Atom, and his company of gods, Sopdu, Nephabau, Semseru, and Eastern Horus, the Lady of Emet, may she enfold your head, the divine council upon the flood, Min Horus in the midst of the countries, Wereret, Lady of Punt, Nut, Haroeris Re, and all the gods of the homeland and the islands of the sea, may they give life and dominion to your nostrils, endow you with their bounty, and give you eternity without limit, all time without end. May fear of you resound in lands and countries, with the circuit of the sun curbed by you. This is the prayer of a humble servant for his Lord, who saves from the west. The Lord of perception, perceiver of the people, perceives, as the majesty of the court, what your humble servant was afraid to say. It is like an unrepeatedly great matter. O great God, equal of the sun god in understanding, someone who willingly serves him, your humble servant is in the hand of him who inquires after him. These things are placed at your disposal. Your majesty is Horus the conqueror. Your arms are mighty against all lands. Now may your majesty command that he be made to bring the Meki man from Kedem, the settler out of Keshu, and the menace man from the lands of Fenku. They are rulers who are well known, who live by love of you, without calling retinue to mind. It is yours, even like your house. This flight which your humble servant made, I had not planned it. It was not in my heart. I had not thought of it. I know not what parted me from my place. It was like the nature of a dream, like a Delta man seeing himself in the Aswan, a man of the marshy lagoons in southern Egypt. I had no cause to be afraid. No one had run after me. I had heard no reproaches. My name had not been heard in the herald's mouth. Only that the shuddering of my limbs, my feet hastening, my heart overmastering me, the God who fated this flight dragging me away. I was not presumptuous before, for a man respects him who is acknowledged by his land, and the sun god has put respect for you throughout the land, and terror of you in every country. Whether I am at home, whether I am in this place, it is you who veils this horizon of mine. The sun shines for love of you. The water of the river is drunk when you wish. The air of heaven is breathed when you say. Your humble servant will hand over to the darlings which your humble servant has begotten in this place. A journey has been made for your humble servant. May your majesty do as you desire. Men live on the breath of your giving. May the sun god, Horus and Hathor, love these your noble nostrils, which Montu, Lord of Thebes, desires to live for all time. I was allowed to spend a day in Yah, handing over my property to my children. My eldest son was in charge of my tribe, and all my property was his. My servants, my cattle, my fruit, and all my orchard trees. This humble servant then came southwards, and I halted at the ways of Horus. The commander there, who was in charge of the garrison, sent a message to the residents to inform them. And His Majesty caused a worthy overseer of the peasants of the royal household to come, accompanied by laden boats and bearing bounty of royal giving for the Syrians who had come with me, leading me to the ways of Horus. And I announced each one by his name. Every serving man was at his duty. I set sail, with kneading and brewing beside me, until I reached the harbour of Ichtawi. When it was dawn, very early, they came and summoned me. 10 men coming, 10 men going, ushering me to the palace. I touched the ground between the sphinxes as the royal children stood in the portal receiving me. And the courtiers who ushered to the pillared hall were showing me the way to the audience hall. I found His Majesty on the great throne in the portal of Electrum. Then I was stretched out prostrate, unconscious of myself in front of him, while this God was addressing me amicably. I was like a man seized in the dusk. My soul had perished. My limbs failed. My heart was not in my body. I did not know life from death. And His Majesty said to one of these courtiers,
Raise him up. Let him speak to me.
and His Majesty said,
Look, you have returned after roaming foreign countries, after flight has made its attack on you. You are now elderly and have reached old age. Your burial is no small matter. You will not be laid to rest by barbarians. Act against yourself no more. You did not speak when your name was announced. Are you afraid of punishment?
I answered this with the answer of a frightened man. What does my lord say to me that I can answer? For this is no disrespect towards God, but is a terror which is in my body, like that which created the fated flight. Look, I am in front of you, and life is yours. May your majesty do as he desires. And the royal children were ushered in, and his majesty said to the queen,
Look, Sinue has returned as an Asiatic, an offspring of the Syrians.
She gave a great cry, and the royal children shrieked as one, and they said unto his majesty,
Is it really he, sovereign my lord?
And his majesty said,
It is really he.
Now they had brought with them their necklaces, their rattles, and their sistra, and they presented them to his majesty.
Your hands upon this beauty, enduring king, these insignia of the Lady of Heaven. May the Golden One give life to your nostrils. The Lady of Stars enfold you. South crown fares north, north crown south, joined and made one in the words of your majesty, on whose brow the royal serpent is placed. You have delivered the poor from evil. So may the sun god, lord of the two lands, be gracious to you. Hail to you as to the lady of all. Slacken your bow, withdraw your shaft. Give breath to him who suffocates. Give back the good we give on this good day. Present us with north wind's sun. the barbarian born in the homeland. Through fear of you he took flight. Through terror of you he left the land. A face that has seen your face shall not pale. An eye that has gazed on you shall not fear.
And his majesty said,
He shall not fear. He shall not gibber in terror. He will be a courtier among the officials, and he will be appointed amongst the entourage. Proceed to the robing chamber to attend on him.
I went forth from the audience hall with the royal children giving me their hands, and afterwards we went through the great portal. I was appointed to the house of a prince, with costly things in it, with a bathroom in it, and divine images of the horizon, with treasures from the treasury in it, clothes of royal linen, myrrh, and kingly fine oil, with officials whom the king loved in every room, and every serving man at his duty. The years were made to pass from my limbs. I became clean-shaven, and my hair was combed. A load was given back to the foreign country, and clothes back to the sandfarers. I was clad in fine linen. I was anointed with fine oil. I slept in a bed. I return the sand to those who are upon it, and the tree oil to those smeared with it. I was given the house of a governor, such as belongs to a courtier. Many craftsmen were building it. All its trees were freshly planted. Meals were brought to me from the palace 3 and 4 times a day, as well as what the royal children gave, without making a moment cease. A pyramid of stone was built for me. In the midst of the pyramids, the masons who construct the pyramid measured out its foundations. The draftsman drew in it. The overseer of sculptors carved in it. The overseer of the works which are in the burial grounds busied himself with it. All the equipment to be put in a tomb shaft, its share of these things was made. I was given funerary priests. A funerary domain was made for me, with fields in it and a garden in its proper place, as is done for a chief courtier. My image was overlaid with gold, and its kilt with electrum. It is His Majesty who has caused this to be done. There is no other lowly man for whom the like was done. I was in the favors of the king's giving until the day of landing came.
So it ends, from start to finish, as found in writing.